PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, has become so common amongst women, younger women, that approximately like 25% of the women are having problems getting pregnant. Even if they're at the fertile age, the age of like 25 to 35 years old is what they call it, the fertility age, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, how nutrition can help with PCOS. We have Samantha. She's joining me in 1 second. So hang on for 1 second. Samantha will talk about nutrition for PCOS, what kind of foods to avoid, what is it that you want to take. Hi, Samantha. How are you?
Hello. I'm well. How are you?
I am great, except for my allergies, but otherwise,
Oh, it's the season. Where are you located?
I'm in San Francisco, so.
Okay. Yeah, we're in Toronto, or I'm in Toronto, and they're starting as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And PCOS is such a hot topic amongst women who are from 25 to 35, especially if they're trying to get pregnant. And you are a holistic nutritionist helping women with food, right? And food is medicine. Food is so important. So tell us, let's just start with your journey and why you think PCOS is something that you have taken as a topic.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's such an important topic to talk about because I always say, like, the diagnosis, I think, or the statistic on the diagnosis is like 1 in 10. But I would say that it is a lot more pervasive or common than that statistic kind of leads us to believe. And I think that many women who seek my help all kind of come in with a common picture, and a lot of it, in my belief, has to do with just how we are trying to acclimatize to this way of life. Stress is a huge contributing factor to how these genes turn on or off. Of course, PCOS is considered to be genetic, meaning that there is a genetic piece to it, but how we turn these genes on or off is really dictated by lifestyle and food as we know it. Stress being a big contributing factor. And I think when you're stressed, you tend to not eat as well. You tend to seek high carbohydrate or high sugary foods, which can also turn on these signals to bring on PCOS. So it all kind of, when I think of all of the complexities of the disorder, to me, it really is a result of stress, our busy way of life, that we haven't really taken time to just chill out a little bit, focus on ourselves and give ourselves the TLC truly that we need to thrive, especially as women. Our hormones are so delicate and receptive to the changes that we experience, whether that is food, stress, whatever it is. So we're a lot more susceptible to things than our male counterparts.
Yes, that's for sure. So now the foods, specifically on nutrition, right? Let's just talk about the foods. If someone has PCOS, what should they avoid and what should they replenish with?
Yeah, so having worked in this field now for a few years, I think that my perspective on this has shifted a little bit. I was never the nutritionist that you would go to for a low carb or a ketogenic diet. That's really not my belief, because even though we tend to, demonize carbs, especially with respect to PCOS, there is a huge place for them. And at the end of the day, that's what our body and our brain thrives off of. So we really need to look at carbs and re-love them in a way. But I try not to demonize foods, especially with my clients, because many clients are coming in with previously restrictive diets. I will say, we all know that these, white foods, right? Like white flour, refined carbohydrates, white pastas, those tend to be void of a lot of nutrients that not just women, but all people need in order to thrive. And especially for hormonal health, we really need balanced blood sugar, and these refined carbohydrates just exacerbate an imbalanced blood sugar, or that blood sugar roller coaster. that a lot of clients are on. So it doesn't necessarily mean giving up carbohydrates, but it means replacing some of these foods that we have learned to eat, right? A lot of our health behaviors are a result of how we were raised and how our parents or guardians fed us. So just kind of replacing some of the things that we have previously learned to be fine for us, that could be exacerbating the issue. Refined carbs being a big one. I think in terms of overall nutrition as well, it's more so important to balance out your plate. I talk about that a lot with my clients, just to simplify nutrition, because there's so much information out there that I think it's so easy to get overwhelmed. But to have your plate and just, look at the size of it and say, okay, I really want to include half my plate full of vegetables. I know that protein is going to help my blood sugar. It's going to help hormones. I want a quarter of my plate full of some good quality protein, whether that is, wild caught salmon or chicken or whatever it is, or tofu if you're vegetarian. And then another quarter of your plate incorporating the carbohydrate in a healthy way. So if you are a huge fan of pasta, like I am, I try to stick to whether it's like a brown rice pasta or a chickpea pasta, just so that it slows down that blood sugar curve. Or things like spaghetti squash, beets. These are also considered carbohydrates that are going to have a lot more nutrition to them than something like white pasta or white rice, for example.
Yeah. And what are the other, any particular type of foods like bitter greens, or avoid like nightshade vegetables? I mean, I was just reading an article for PCOS. Sometimes they talk about avoid. So is there something type of vegetables that we should, I mean, not me, generally women should avoid?
I think this really comes down to the individual, as cliche as that sounds. We know that in some instances there is this connection between PCOS and autoimmunity, specifically autoimmune Hashimoto's, so autoimmune thyroiditis or hypothyroidism. So if you do have those two things together, then we do need to look at a diet that's going to bring in the therapy specific to that autoimmune condition. When you speak of nightshades, we know that those can be inflammatory, which can exacerbate an autoimmune condition. So that might be an instance where if somebody comes in and they have, comorbid conditions, I'm talking about foods that may be more well advised to restrict or eliminate in those individuals versus just somebody who comes in with some mild PCOS symptoms. I think that's another thing to consider, is that I really see PCOS on a spectrum. And really stress and diet and lack of exercise, that can kind of put you on one end of the spectrum. But if you work on those things, then you can go to the other end to potentially even no longer be symptomatic.
Okay, someone has a question on hydration. I think it just flew away, the question, because someone else joined.
Yeah, okay. I'm just scrolling through here to see. I thought I saw one more question too. Oh, where are you from?
No, the hydration part. We don't care where we're from. It doesn't matter about PCOS.
Recent hydration post on Instagram is lit. Most needed. Maybe it was yours.
Oh, okay. What's the question on hydration? Okay.
There was no question, just a comment.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so well, speaking of hydration, we had a post on hydration, when to drink water. What are your thoughts specifically for women who have PCOS? Is that, should they up their hydration, or should they kind of?
I mean, I think all people need to drink lots of water. They don't need to be drowning in it, because I think at the same time, if you're constantly going to the bathroom and your pee is very clear, that's a sign that you're probably overhydrated. But a lot of women come to see me and they really do not understand the implications of being constipated. And I'm more focused on, why are you constipated? If it is a lack of water, then we need to increase the water. But if somebody has, good skin, they're going to the bathroom, their periods are good, they have cervical mucus that relies on hydration, all of those things are kind of checked off. then water is less of a concern. But generally speaking, I say like take your weight and divide it by 2, weight in kilograms divided by 2, and drink that in ounces.
Okay. What else would you like to tell the viewers about nutrition for PCOS?
I think overall for nutrition, it really is the managing of the blood sugar. That's really what it comes down to. So, you know, there is talks about the ketogenic diet, the paleo diet, intermittent fasting, all of these things. But if you're struggling to intermittent fast, or if you're struggling to maintain these diets, then they're not for you. And I think when people, like when clients of mine, they come to me and they start eating based on what I'm saying. So having a really good nourishing breakfast and then a good nourishing lunch and dinner, they really start to feel satiated. Their bowel movements improve, their energy improves, and they tend to lose weight, which is really interesting too. And it could have been previously that they were restricting a lot and feeling restricted. And yet when they go to a more nourishing diet, everything just sort of rebalances in the body, and the body's a lot less stressed, a lot less inflamed. And when the body kind of feels safe to do that, then we start to see weight improve as well. So I would say, you know, 3 meals a day, sometimes more if you are really engaging in a lot of activity, or if you have really long days, and making sure to fill your plate, as I mentioned, with half your plate full of vegetables, 1/4 of your plate with protein, and 1/4 of your plate with some type of carbohydrate, and then not forgetting the fat as well. So I know a lot of people have feared fat for a long time, and then now fat's coming back, so we're really incorporating a lot of fat. But I really truly believe in moderation. So we don't need to overdo it on anything. We can enjoy everything and feel completely nourished and balanced.
And the healthy fats you're talking about, the avocado or things like that, right? Well, what else in addition to avocado, like ghee, or what else would you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So ghee's a great one. Coconut oil in moderation. I love olive oil. Olive oil, of course, is one of the key components of the Mediterranean diet. We see more research in that area for improving PCOS outcomes. And sometimes a short-term, lower carb Mediterranean diet can be really helpful for PCOS, depending on where they're at with respect to weight and ovulation. But definitely olive oil is a good one. Nuts and seeds can be incredibly powerful as well at moderating the blood sugar response. And just being more mindful of those omega-6 fatty acids, so those more pro-inflammatory fatty acids. While they do have a place in our system, because pro-inflammation, it sounds so bad, but what people don't realize is like having a menstrual cycle relies on inflammation, right? You need a healthy amount of inflammation in order for that uterine lining to shed. So inflammation is not necessarily a very bad term, but we do need to keep it in control. And we do that by having a good ratio between omega-3s and omega-6s. And omega-3s, of course, are your fatty fish, like mackerel or salmon, or your omega-3 fatty acid oils. And then omega-6s tend to be things like canola oil, vegetable oils, and those tend to drive inflammation. So that can really be a trigger for a lot of hormonal issues, even endometriosis, or especially endometriosis. So having a look, just kind of like taking a look at your overall diet in a day and looking at what are your sources of oils. You may be getting some omega-3s, but are you getting enough to combat the amount of omega-6s that you're getting in your diet? That's probably more important.
Yeah. But anyone has any feedback or any comments, you're welcome to put it in the comment window right there. We are ready to almost wrap up the session. Amazing session, a lot of information for women.
Yeah.
Right, for the PCOS, so many different things that they can do to at least manage it, right? To your point.
Yeah, exactly. The symptoms can absolutely be managed. At times they can even go away, and we can improve menstrual cycles. We can get ovulation happening. I think really what is paramount is to ensure that ovulation is happening. And when we have that, we have the balance in hormones that can help
It's all
everything.
interrelated. Everything is interrelated. Your hormone go out of balance, and then that's where the PCOS and weight and everything kind of right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, okay, well, thank you so much, Samantha, for being with us. I see people joining now. I'm sorry, we are ready to wrap up the session. You can catch the recording right after this. Let us know the feedback of our sessions. We are doing a session every single day. Should we continue or should we just scale back? Anyway, thank you so much, Samantha, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.